Before I begin, I will introduce a couple of folks. We have two more coming as soon as they can that you may have heard of. But currently we have on our panel today's speakers and also a couple of speakers from tomorrow, and I'll give a very brief introduction so that I can do the full introduction tomorrow. The first is not really worth mentioning. But I will. He's Dr. Phil Plait, who is the bad astronomer and runs badastronomy.com. Really quite sufficient, I think. You know, Mr. Peoples, you know Dr. Shermer. Next is Dr. Bob Park from the American Physical Society.
Yay!
Dr. Steve Berret, who runs Quackwatch.
Yay!
Now, why a man of his age is so fascinated with ducks, I don't know, but he's here. And of course, you know...
Eugenie. Clark.
It's a dramatic pause, lady, okay? Dr. Scott, and then we have Penn and soon Teller. So, we're going to run this with military precision. I'm going to get the hell out of the way.
I guess this is what we do.
There you go. And we'll pass the microphones around. If you have a question, now we're recording this, and for other people to hear, I will call on you. Only I am authorized to call on you unless Mr. Randi wants somebody else. And then I will repeat the question you ask so that others in the room as well as the recording may hear. So I begin by asking if there are any questions for anyone on this panel. Right there.
My question is directed to Dr. Park.
Question to Dr. Park.
Is it true that he believes that global warming caused by man is a scientific fact?
Sir, is it true that you believe that global climate change as caused by man is a scientific fact?
Well, not a scientific fact, I wouldn't say, but yeah, the evidence seems to be accumulating. I suspect we're, in fact, moving toward a scientific consensus. How big the effect is, nobody's agreed on that, but sure, it would be unlikely, I think, that it did not have some effect on the climate. Exactly what that effect is, we still don't know.
And I, having worked on global climate change at the White House, would agree. Did anyone else want to add anything? Dr. Shermer, it looked like you. All righty, next question. Right here, please.
I'm a psychologist here in Las Vegas.
You know what? Let me do this. I will do my Phil Donahue.
Yeah, I was just thinking of Phil Donahue.
Hi, I'm a psychologist here in Las Vegas, and I know that most of us agree that getting believers to change their minds is a very difficult proposition. But I wonder what it is that we know or understand about the process that people go through in converting from believers to skeptics, and if we can at all benefit from that kind of information in the work that we do.
Anyone at all?
Yeah, there is research on conversion and deconversion. It's age-related. There's a lot of variation in it. Most people come to their religious beliefs through upbringing. They believe whatever it is their parents believe. Deconversions come in varieties. It depends on if you have a traumatic experience, or in my case, it was just a slow introduction to science that, as a worldview, replaced the religious worldview. So it also depends on emotional needs and that sort of thing. It's a difficult sociological question. It's like, who joins cults? It depends which cult. Certain age groups prefer some kind of cults. Women prefer some kind of cults. Men prefer other cults. So it's one of those, it depends on which religion you're committed to and which one you're getting out of, that sort of thing.
But also remember that the religious people are having meetings saying, how can we turn people over to our side? That's not the way the battle is fought. You're not trying to find out how to manipulate people into doing this stuff. You're just trying to tell the truth. The whole idea of how do we deconvert people skirts the issue of the truth matters. It's not the psychological effects of how this happens to manipulate someone else. This manipulating stuff, as far as I'm concerned, is for the other side, not for this side.
All right. You know, I'm bothered by one thing here. The fact that people tend to believe what their parents believe, I could call that evidence for a genetic reason. My guess is There's a belief gene out there. And they've been looking for the fat gene, they've been looking for the gay gene. This belief gene is causing us a lot more trouble.
I'd like to respond to that question. People often ask me what's the best way to talk somebody out of some piece of quack nonsense. And my answer is very simple. Just tell them the truth, that it's not a matter of technique. And what I find is that the people who are asking the question are reflecting a lack of self-confidence. I don't have medical credentials, they might say, or who's going to believe me? The fact is that what's really needed out there are foot soldiers to carry out and spread accurate messages. Technique is secondary. At this point, the skeptic voice in the field of health quackery is barely heard, and what's needed is to make it heard, and technique really doesn't make any difference.
I agree to a considerable extent with that last comment, but I must say that informing people who don't know how to handle the information, people who haven't been adequately educated and don't have sufficient critical attitude about what's fed to them or offered to them through the media or through parents or whatever, is really a waste of time. If people aren't prepared to receive it, it's like throwing corn seeds in gravel. It's just not going to work. They may sprout a bit, but they're not going to mature. And that's what happens. Education is the basic problem right here. Basic education at very early ages on how to consider things, how to look at things critically. And Michael Shermer's books have gone a long way towards equipping people to do this, especially for young folks. That's what I'm concerned with.
All righty, we have a question down here.
Yeah, Mr. Randi, I had the very great pleasure last year at the Atheist Alliance International Convention of going with you and Dr. Shermer and Professor Dawkins to see an apparition of the Virgin Mary on the side of a building in Clearwater. And what you just said right now about looking at things with new eyes, I'm sure people have told you that in order to see these apparitions, you need the eyes of faith. Now, I always thought that was an expression, but it turns out it's not really an expression. The Catholic Church has been giving these out at bingo for many, many years. It's the eyes of faith. And I plan on giving this to you for your foundation so that you can use these when you go out to see an apparition, to see through the eyes of faith. You will see they are hologram sunglasses, apparently normal sunglasses. But when you move them mysteriously, you will see an apparent vision. Would you like to give this?
Yeah, these are probably diffraction grating glasses that they used to call X-ray glasses. You could see people's bones and whatnot. Yeah, well, I can see the bare bones of this whole thing without even looking through the glasses. Yeah, Richard Dawkins and I did in Clearwater. We went to see the Virgin of Clearwater. We called it the Virgin of the Dirty Water, because it was created, the illusion on the window was created by a sprinkler. The head broke off the sprinkler, it sprayed straight up on the window and washed down the window, and you can see the path of the water. When we walked around the building, we found there were virgins on almost every window where there was a broken sprinkler, but they had been washed off with an acid wash. You could see the height of a person there where they had taken a sponge to wash those off, because you can only have one virgin, you see, at any given site, because she travels around the world, as we know, very quickly and such, and this is a miracle in itself. So we analyzed, we got the water with the National Institutes of Health now. A friend there who's a leading chemist is analyzing it for me. So we're going to have the chemical formula for virgins very soon.
And the Lord said, "Spray ye not thy Windex."